I really don't know what to talk about tonight because I'm failing again. I, yeah. Still day zero. Um, I'm came to the realization the other day that this will only happen if I want it to happen. And I think that's kind of the main problem of the situation right now is that in my in my mind or in my heart, I know that I can't do it. Or rather, I know that I am not ready to do it. Now, truthfully, I'm ready for this to stop. However, I'm so desocialized and broken that it's very difficult for me to stop because I don't have anyone in my life to help me. My mom had my dad. And while me and my dad do not agree on a lot of things, I know that he was there for my mom and really kind of kicked her in the ass to get clean. And I'm not talking about getting clean like just from drugs. I'm talking about prescription medication as well. So I think that we as a society have a problem with how we view drugs. On the one hand, we view our traditional view of drugs is like half shamanic, half evil. However, the drugs that we view as shamanic do not compare with the drugs that are coming out today. I live literally beside a rehab center where you see them every single morning shuffling to the rehab center to try to save themselves. And that's the important part to understand here is that no matter how far they're gone, no matter how destitute they become, the ones that shuffle to that rehab center every single morning, no matter what they do or how they fail after the rest of the day, those people are trying. And that's kind of something important that we as a society need to focus on. Addiction is a disease of the body, and it's a disease of the mind. Your body goes first. So what it does is that let's say I'm doing drug A, and drug A is easily absorbed by the liver. Your liver will get tired and will start to be less effective. That's after a very long time. However, your liver will make you create a tolerance to it when you're starting. You start with 2 milligrams. And 8 months later for drug A, you're at 800 milligrams because your usage was every single day and you're not after the medicinal aspects of the drug, you're after the disconnect aspects of the drug, right? And that's something that we as a society, the people who are okay, we as a society, we need to accept the fact that even though the people who are badly addicted, the ones whose lives are ruined, the shufflers that I see every single day, walking to the rehab center, we have to have some kind of compassion for them. These are people as well, right? These are good people. Some of them, my God, they have degrees, they have diplomas, they have postgraduate shit. Some of these people are crazy intelligent. However, the addictiveness of the drugs that are produced today can take anyone. I'm not going to name drugs here because I know that the moment that I name a drug, there's going to be a goddamn pharmaceutical company that's going to drop on my ass. But there are common prescription sleeping pills out there that are addictive as fuck. Like, insanely addictive. And these are prescribed to people who sometimes have addictive personalities. And the addictive personality is something that I'm not going to talk about. I'm one of them. Compulsive. I like adventure. I like taking risks. I'm afraid of heights, but that doesn't mean I won't take a risk exploring an abandoned building or some nonsense like that, right? That's what it comes down to, right? It's just I have an addictive personality, and if you give me a sleeping pill that makes me sleep properly, they never do. You never go into REM sleep with them. Or I think some of the newer ones you might, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to crack out my pharmacology book. I don't want to do that right now. So, like, you give me a sleeping pill and I'm hooked on it immediately. You give me 5 of them. On the first day, I'm going to use 1. On the second day, I'm going to use 1, and then 15 minutes later, I'm going to break 1 in half and use 1 and a half. On the next day, I'm going to see that there's 2.5 left. I'm going to say to myself, you know what? I can take 2.5. You take 2.5 and you can't walk out of the room you're in. You have to get someone to carry you out. Right? That's how that's how I work. Right? That's how I've functioned as a human being for a very, very long time now. Even when it wasn't drugs, even when it was like things like video games, things like ritualistic behaviors. For those of you who are living in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, Earth, solar system, galaxy, universe, that kind of thing, I don't know if any people were there when Cataraqui Woods was in fact Cataraqui Woods, as in it was a forest. You had like the old Cataraqui Woods where all the streets are named after trees, and then on the edge of town you had old farmland that was like reclaimed forest. In that forest there was an open field about 2.5 kilometers in from the main road. This was about, I'd say about 7 or 8 kilometers away from my home. We lived close to that forest. Now it's all fucking endless suburb. It's incredibly annoying. However, if there were people who were living in Cataraqui Woods and partook in the ATV trails that were out there, I'm sure that many of you would remember a giant fuck-off wooden tower filled with paganistic symbols built about 100 meters off the main trail that you could literally see from the highway, from 401, and that got struck by lightning. This thing was fucking huge. I built that. I'm the one who built it, completely by myself. The way that I did it is, it started as I don't really want to talk about this. Whatever. No one's ever going to see this anyways. It was a pagan ritual to create a negative node in the world's ley lines. Is that correct? Yes. So basically the way it started is you needed an old life. So trees are old life. They live for a very, very long time. They're around for a very, very long time. They accumulate life in them. They're still a tree. They don't have thoughts or emotions or anything like that, but they have life. By slowly entombing that living tree in a lattice work of freshly cut dead trees that started as a lean-to, and then as I built up on top of the bottom ones, what ended up happening is they spiraled down and kind of settled onto each other. It ended up being this kind of spiral build of trees and junk. I never took many things from, like, our shed. Most of the stuff that I used for rope and nails and other stuff like that was taken directly from the woods. People would just dump stuff out in the woods. I'd take old bed sheets, cut them up, braid them, and I'd have carrying ropes. And when the thing got really, really, really tall, and I'm talking like, this thing was at least 10 times my height. The very pinnacle of it was very, very high. And basically what I would do to get the third lattice up, so it was first lattice, bunch of trees, very thick, very strong. Second lattice, bunch of trees, very thick, very strong. Third lattice was going to be a bunch of trees, very thick, very strong. And by this time, the original sacrifice tree is gone completely. It's buried underneath this spire. And the way that I would bring stuff up, like big trees, like they were 10, 15, 20 feet, about 8 inches across. Some of the really big ones, I would make it a project for that, because all I had was a hatchet. I would make it a project for that day to just, today I'm going to take that one down, and that's the only one I'm bringing over. And I'd have ropes over my back, and I'd be bringing it over. And then what would happen is I'd set it down, and then I would tie the bottom, the part that was supposed to be on the bottom, with rope. And then what would happen is I would bring the bottom up to where I wanted to seat it onto the construct, essentially. And then I would pull, and then the bottom would come up, and then essentially what would happen is I would tie another rope here, and by sheer will of force, later on I developed technology, but by sheer will of force I would bring the tip up, and I would basically settle it on where it needs to be. Later on, when I was starting to build the fourth lattice, the tallest one, what happened is I couldn't do it anymore. It was because the tree was so vertical along the lattice that it was impossible for me to grab it from the other side and pull it up. I tried many ways. I tried doing it sideways, that kind of stuff. What I developed was a literal crane. I took 3 very, very large pieces of wood, and I made kind of like a V with one in the middle, and then I tied it all with rope, and then I nailed boards on the bottom so it was rigid, and then the rope would hang over the edge, so then I would come down from the spire, and I would pull on this, and the whole thing would tip over and bring the bottom of the tree up and then connect it. Long story short, because I'm running out of time, is that I do dangerous shit. I have an addictive personality. I almost severely injured myself while building this thing. I had a laceration on my leg that I hid from my parents because I knew the moment I got home and my entire pant leg was red with blood. It wasn't that bad. It was halfway through the main layer of dermis. It wasn't that bad. It just bled a lot. When you're 16 and it's bleeding a lot, you're just kind of like, oh, what the fuck do I do now? Anyways, you know, like, I got hurt. I got hunted by fucking coyotes out there, which was something I never believed would happen so close to the suburbs, but I'll tell you that one tomorrow. Hi Sam, you're all alone. If anyone wants to watch it.